What's up, everybody? Welcome. Happy Thursday. I'm so happy to be here with you guys, hanging out another Thursday, another week. Starting the year. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you guys had a great break. For those that were able to take a break, it's always great to take a break. I took a little bit of a break. I was sharing on my Instagram that I got super busy last year with a lot of things that were going on with work. And then we had something unfortunate that happened here at the house, and also that kind of discouraged me from doing more active work on social media. But because social media, I always approach it as a way to like share what I'm doing and get excited and kind of like hype up some of the things that I'm doing and sharing my posters. So I took a little break, and that was amazing. And now I'm back into it. What's up, everybody? Hello, good to see you all in the chat. Happy New Year. Hello from Los Angeles. What's up, Drew? Good to see you. Good to have you. Idara, am I saying your name right? Good to see you. Good to have you. Hello. Hello, Velvet. What's up, man? It's good to see you. I love you, man. It's great to see you. I love the work that you're posting on your Instagram. Hello, Marsha. It's great to see you back. It's good to see all of you guys here, and it's good to hang out a little bit. Today, we're going to be making a new poster, and I'm going to share the image that I have ready, and I'm going to share with you guys how I got this image, so we can, get into it a little bit more. But before we do that, I want to remind you all that we have Discord going on, and Discord, you can share your work and share what you have going on. I'm going to open Discord real quick so you can see it. Here it is. So this is what the Discord looks like. If you go into the Adobe Discord, and then you go to on the spot, you can share here some of your work, and we can go from there. We can see your work, what you're doing, and at the same time, we can share. What's up, Bree? It's good to see you. Happy New Year. It's good to have you here. Last week on the show, or last time that we had a show about 3 weeks ago, I created this artwork here, and the idea was to create like a label for a wine or something like that could be cool to use on a wine label. And it was inspired by that wine that I had here in my house, and I just created this image with you guys on the chat. And if you're interested in seeing that, I believe it is on YouTube. You just have to search for it a little bit inside of the Adobe Live, or inside of the same show. You go down there, you'll see a playlist, and just look for the last episode. That's what we did in the last episode. It was a lot of fun. Just to set some expectations for the show, if you're new here, first of all, I would love to see you in the chat. I would love to see you commenting down there. And second, I want to share that this also is for all of us to be sharing ideas and to be sharing with each other. So since I did this wine label last week, I encourage everybody to kind of do the same thing with their design. And we have a couple submissions that I love to review. We have Lucas with an amazing submission, and sometimes people would share their before and after photos, and that's what we have right here with Lucas. And he shared the before photo and the after photo of what he did. He did something that seemed super cool. I love the color palette, and it seems like it's you were kind of following the same route of like doing a wine label or something like that. I love how tall this model feels, how cool it feels. I love the lighting edit that you did on it. I love the different layers that you add to it. I feel like it's really cool. And, the blood coming out of the nose is amazing. It's also a nice touch, a nice intriguing touch. I like the eyes as well. We've talked in this show a little bit about keeping people intrigued when they're looking at your images, right? And keeping them kind of engaged and rewarding them as they look at your image more and more, with different details. And that's what I'm getting here. I'm getting the detail over here on the earrings, and I'm getting the details on the nose and the eyes, and I feel like it's really cool. So great job. I love the coloring as well. Super cool. And then we have Worst Victorianist, and their work is a wine label. We can see it mocked up here, and I don't know much about the process that you're using on this, and as you can see, you'll see that a lot of people use here a little bit of inspiration of what we do in the show with the colors and the different things. Feel free to do the same, but if you have a personal style or a style that you normally do work in, you can submit with your own style. We would just look at it, review it, hang out. And also it's a good tool for the community to get to know each other and hang out. So if you want to submit something on Discord, the Discord link is right there, and you can check it out. Lucas, amazing work. Thank you for being in the chat as well. I really appreciate you. Cool. So this work from Worst Victorianist is really cool. I like how they're incorporating this into the label. One thing that I would have done a little different here, and I also would like to give feedback if it's your first time here, is that I would have centered the subject on the label, because it's I know you creating some like negative space, and that is cool in photography, for example, other things like that, where people are viewing the image completely. But on a label, when you're looking at it, pretty much what you're absorbing is whatever's in the center. So with something like this, I would focus on bringing everything the center, like to the center of the frame. I feel like that would have worked a little bit better here, and it also lines up nicely with the sun that you have behind it. So that's my feedback for this. Also, a little bit of the coloring I would have worked in, blending in a little bit more of the coloring, although you have undertones of green in the shadows as you have here in the trees, but I would have worked the lighting a little bit better. Also, we have a ton of people in this community that are like different levels of design. Some people are like more experienced, some people are less experienced, and we like to give feedback across the board to everybody. Marsha has another submission. What's up, Marsha? I like this submission, Marsha. I would love to hear more about it. But this looks like a, classic wine label that you have. Is soft, is a little bit more intentional. There's a lot of details going, and a lot of stuff going on. Rose petal, gin, I like that. And I like how you are mixing some of the things, and it feels, I think you've done this before in your work, where you are making things look like it's like a mirror effect that comes from the metal. And although the textures can be really busy, the mirror effect kind of like makes everything more symmetrical and a little bit more pleasing. I don't know how you created this. It would be good to see some of your process on it. One of the things that I would have done maybe is being more intentional about the sort of the how you're blending the two images together. I feel like that would have been cool to see here. But I like the overall composition is peaceful. One of the things that I would do as well is work on the typeface to make sure that it really contrasts well with the background, because it's a label, right? I know I did not add any type to my label. We were going to do that during the show. We ran out of time, but it's something that I like to do normally. Magdiel Lopez, whoa, big double tapper of your art, sir. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here. And thank you for jumping on the chat. I know there's a lot of people that sometimes jump for the first time and they don't ever comment. And that's cool too. I get it. I turn on YouTube as well, and I'm like just watching what people are doing. But thank you for jumping in, saying hi. I appreciate you. Okay, super cool. I saw V posted this last time. We couldn't review it. V, super cool work. Super impressive details here. I've talked to V about some of these effects that he does, and he uses Photoshop to make a lot of these effects, which is some of you guys might be surprising, but he used a lot of like liquefied and stuff like that, and almost stretches the tools until they break in a way. And this is really cool to see all these details on top of these label or whatever we want to call it. But good job, everybody. Thank you for submitting this week. If you want to submit, make sure you do it next week. And we'll be here next Thursday at the same time. So don't forget to do that. Okay, what are we going to do today? I created this image before we started the show. Here's the prompt that I used. So I'm going to leave it on the screen if you guys want to take this prompt as well. Hey, thank you so much, Cole. I appreciate you for commenting. Thank you for being here. What's up? But I'm sorry if I don't say your name right. But I'm seeing some of the comments. First time here in the wine group? Question mark. It's not a wine group. We mostly drink coffee. In fact, I'm drinking coffee right now. But we did that challenge last episode. What we did is that we try to just jump in and do a challenge, do something cool. Today, I'm just going to create a poster inspired by this image that I generated using AI. And this is the prompt right here that I have. So if you guys want to copy the prompt and you can use it, and I've talked a little bit about how to do that. In Firefly, you have different models that you can use to generate images. And then essentially what you would do is that you would copy that prompt that I had over here, for example, and just test it out with different models to see which one works better. You can use all of the Firefly models. I'm gonna refresh that a little bit. All the Firefly models are commercially good to be used. Essentially, what it means is that they haven't used any anything to train the models that is not commercially owned by Adobe. So, you know, all the images, you can use them for commercial work safely. And then all the other partner models are whatever, you know, whatever Google uses to train their images. I don't really know what ChatGPT uses to train the images, but all these models are available here. You can test them out. You can play with them. Today, since we're not doing anything for a client, it doesn't really matter what model I use. I think for that one, if I'm remembering correctly, I think I ended up using ChatGPT, but I remember that was my base prompt. And then normally you have to like kind of get in there and edit a few things. Like if the hair is not coming out the way you want it, you would erase it and generate it again. And there's a little bit of back and forth there. And I've been using more of the different models. I think I ended up using ChatGPT, but sometimes even if you want to try the Google, let me try the Google out, the Google one right now and see what we come up with. But sometimes you just like, you know, throw it in and get different results. Sometimes you like the results, sometimes you don't like the results. There's a lot of like back and forth on that you can do. For example, I got this now. I don't want any of the text. So I will clarify here, no text. And this is a cool image. I just don't like some of these things over here. So I would, you know, erase some of those things. I would erase the text and clean it up a little bit until I land into something I like. But yeah, you can keep testing other models. Let's try this one. I can't remember if I've tried this one before. I think I have, but I think it's good. Yeah, and like I said, I think I ended up using the GPT model, but I Frankenstein a few things just to edit, you know, some of it. And one of the coolest things that you can do, oh, this one's creepy. Yeah, this one's not a good generation. Some of the things that you can do is that you can use inside of Photoshop, then you can layer things. I don't know if you guys have used that, but you can also, you know, select areas of the photo. Like for instance, I'm gonna select, I don't know, I'm just trying to use an example here. I'm gonna select the eyes, and then you can say add sunglasses. And then you can proceed to edit the image even more to get to a point where it's a good first, you know, like opening image, which is where I like to be sometimes with these kind of posters that I do every day or every other day or whenever I have time, is to land on an image that's inspiring to me to work on. And then from there, I just start doing things with it. But I guess on top of this image today, what I want to do, I'm going to describe what it is until this is done. As you can see, sometimes the AI, we've talked about this before, doesn't line up the images well, or it does like this thing where it resizes them. So you normally have to resize, and then also you have to like blend them in a little bit. So you have to do a little bit of work if you want to edit that. But it's honestly a really good thing that you can like add things to photos this easily, right? Okay, let's get started with the poster creation. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove background. So I just clicked on remove background. It's pretty simple. And then from here, what I want to be doing is that I want to, you know, think about this whole thing as a concept. And I'm, you know, again, some of this show is just about me doing this, and I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest with you guys. I knew I wanted to edit this image, but I'm just going free-handed here and doing as I go. So if you want to ask me some things on the chat as I'm doing this, it's cool. If not, you're just free to look at what I'm doing, and I'll be explaining a little bit of what I'm doing, right? So right now I'm using the lasso tool as a way to get started on this image, to maybe create some area here that's very irregular, where I'm gonna start throwing some color in, right? Normally, I've talked about my color palette in the past, and it's something I encourage everybody to do. So if I go to my libraries here, I have a few colors that I normally use in my work, and then a few assets that I normally have in my work. Obviously, this is really good with businesses and brands and stuff like that. But also as an artist, I feel like it's a very good thing. Although these colors, I like already know them by heart because right now I just picked it from memory instead of clicking on this color. You see, it's a tiny bit different. So it's not that you're staying in that on that place the whole time, but you want to have a color palette that you use regularly because that's going to give you a little bit more of an identity online. And also it's something that, it can identify your work. So it's something that I definitely recommend doing. I like this right here. I'm going to put it right there. And I'm just going to start adding different things to this image that I like. One of the things that I might do before doing this, I might select the red on this. And to do that, I'm going to make a copy of the bottom layer. And I'm just going to, rasterize it so I can have it separately. And then I'm just going to copy the red jacket. I know there's a way to, when you click on select people, it detects what's going on with that person. And then when you click on it, you can select different parts of their body. If you can see here, skin, mask, whatever. Sometimes it does a better job. Sometimes it doesn't do such a good job. Regularly, it does a good job at doing that. But you can always go in with the selection tool, which is this tool right here. And you can start selecting things out and, just kind of like managing it. In this case, I don't want it to be, I don't need it to be perfect. So I'm trying to like just do it as quick as I can. And I'm just thinking about like the way that I would just remove things, add things. I think imperfection here is good. In fact, I'm more and more of a fan of imperfection the more we get into a world of AI. I feel like AI has a very perfect output, and we as people, it's going to be more and more beautiful to see imperfections on designs, and that's going to bring it more and more into the artistic side versus the design side. So it's something that I would encourage you to lean into. Right here, I'm struggling with like deselect that hair. So you can always use one of the old tools like the magnetic tool or like the pen tool. Probably the pen tool will be better here. Let me go ahead and do that. So I'm going to use the pen tool, which is something that I also regularly do. The problem with the pen tools is going to give me a super clean cut, which in this case, it might not be too bad, but we'll see. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to do a negative selection on that. So I'm going to say, don't select that part. Perfect. So that way now I have that red jacket. I'm going to put that in a separate layer. And that's going to allow us to do color only inside of that. And I'm going to do a layer and just mask that. And like I said before, like I want to just be using some of the colors that I normally would use. In this case, I'm going to use a little bit brighter green. Maybe something like this to like create this. I also created this before. I'm going to leave it right there. I feel like that's going to work a little bit. And some of it, the thing in this style is like that I do is to just be like layering different things on top of each other. And it's a process of like, it goes from like looking really bad to start looking a little bit better. And then, hopefully lands on something that looks really good towards the end. But it's definitely a process of like playing with this, especially when you don't have a super set plan that you're going after, right? Which is my case right now. I do want to maybe use some like textures of like, I'm gonna call them mountains, but they're definitely not mountains. Let me make a selection back here. So I'm going to throw this to the bottom. And what I want to do in there is that I want to kind of counterbalance what's happening with the body down here. So the body is like the body and the colors in the body right now are being so heavy. I know some people normally just break down, okay, making the background first and then making the subject, or the other way around. I sometimes like to do everything at once when I'm working on the image, because I feel like it gives me a better position for balancing the work as I go, especially with work that is just this chaotic. and I don't have a super set plan for it. I like to like layer by layer start adding the things as I imagine them. I feel like that's a good way to go about doing work like this. Cool. I'm liking this so far. I think we probably are going to need some other layers. I've been doing these clouds. I'm gonna show them to you guys. I mean, I call them clouds, but they're not clouds at all. But essentially, they are these. Maybe I should start with the color that I'm actually gonna use. They're just black, blue and white, quote unquote clouds that I'm doing. I start with a soft brush, and I just do a circle like that, and then I go in with the white inside of that, and it's essentially like paint it like that. And then what I do is that I copy them, and sometimes just flatten them a little bit. I try to give it like a cloud structure. Maybe we should reference a cloud. I think that would be cool. So let's look for cloud online. I'm gonna pull up a cloud. It's always good to reference real things, because it's just helpful. I'm going to throw this in here. I'm not chasing something literal at all, but I feel like this would be a good help to like maybe define some of this, the placement of it. It starts looking a little bit like Toy Story in a way, like the Toy Story clouds. There you go. Maybe one like that. Maybe a smaller one here. I want to bring this one to the bottom. I think we've talked about, you know, referencing things in the past, or something like that, and like, yeah, referencing some of the stuff online or some of the work on nature that you're trying to mimic, because that way it really, like, you really help yourself be more successful, right? It's especially good when you are working on like drawing something, or like, you know, a realistic version of a logo or something like that. You always want to mimic what's going on around you. It's really unwise to just move forward with your brain instead of, like, you know, referencing a cloud. Like, this is clearly a cloud now. Before, it was a little bit harder to determine what it was, right? But I feel like this is a good, you know, starting point for that. Crunch, is that your name? No, Conha? Lucas is saying, maybe we could do some stickers on the inside of the mask. I like that idea. I think we could do some colors in there. That's what I was thinking, like to do some coloring or something inside of the mask. I feel like that could be cool. Yeah, this is looking cool so far. I'm keeping the color somewhat of a kind of muted. I call them muted. They're very colorful, but I'm keeping them more on the muted side. I don't know. Lately, I've liked more like muting more the colors and having them hyper bright like I used to in the past. I don't know why. They're still pretty bright though. But I feel like they blend a little bit better, and it's a little bit of a better vibe. Maybe I do want a bit of a darker theme up here, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Actually, I should probably do black. Yeah, because I feel like that will be a nice contrast with that blue. Yeah. Yeah, and as you can see, I'm going off here with just creating something that is essentially a drawing inside of Photoshop, and sometimes it's a little bit more photo driven, sometimes a little bit more of an illustration. I feel like it's cool to be able to have that freedom a little bit and go with that. I'm liking this. I feel like with all the chaos I want to get into doing stuff inside of the mask and inside of the body and messing with that a little bit more. I do feel, however, that we need, let me try to finish the background a little bit more and add a little bit more detail here. I have a few brushes that I've been using that I feel like could be cool. Let me take a look at some of them. From our like 3 shows ago, we talked about brushes, and then from there on, I downloaded a ton of them. And we've talked about this on the show, but I don't have my Wacom here. So normally in the show, I'm using my mouse and the keyboard, and that is great. But at the same time, when you're doing like hand drawn things like this, it's like not as good, right? Obviously. However, I feel like we can still make it work. I'm gonna do the flow all the way up, and yeah, that's good. And then I'm gonna do stroke on this. Yeah, so I feel like this could be cool. It's just like an accent thing on top of what's happening. And the cool thing about this is that we should probably like make it a little bit brighter, a tiny bit brighter. I should have probably made that somewhat of a smart object or something like that to be able to edit it, but I feel like this is good. I mean, it's pretty chaotic. It needs a little bit of texturing on top of everything. I do want to also add a stroke to this. I'm trying to keep the theme of the stroke going. There you go. And maybe, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, sometimes you get this thing with the stroke. If you don't have a super, the image has like a low flow, and you paint on it and then you throw a stroke in it. It's one of the cool way to make a texture actually that feels more old school is throwing a stroke with an image that is not fully painted. So I feel like it gives it like a nice look. I feel like some of the colors are looking a little muddy because of how much we're mixing them. So let me go back to red up here. I feel like that super bright red could be cool. And the stroke here, I'm actually going to turn it then into like maybe like a white. Yeah. I do, however, want to bring in some texturing from outside, and I want to do a few things to this background over here. So let's work on that a little bit. Let's work on adding some details here to the mask as well. Yeah, so maybe what we start with is like we can go find a cool texture, or we can make one. Let's see what we can find. So let's go to Adobe Stock real quick, and let's find some like liquid. Let's find some liquid chrome, something like that could feel, yeah, something like this would be good. Yeah, this stuff is pretty simple to make actually, but for the sake of like faster time, I'm just gonna download this one right here. Although this one has a lot of grain, I feel like it's fine. I'm gonna download this one. Perfect. In fact, we've made some of these like liquid chrome looks in the past here in the show to make a texture. I feel like we did that like probably 5 episodes ago or something like that. But in this case, I'm just gonna take it in, bring it in like this. The cool thing about this is that we can really even distort this a little bit more if we want it to be more detailed, or we can keep it the way it is. But what I was about to say is that we can go in with like a gradient map, and let me attach it to it. And then once you have a gradient map, you can really mess with it. Like the gradient map really helps you. Hold on, something's not working right on this gradient map. I think that's not a gradient map. Here it is, gradient map. There it is. I was like, that's not acting like a gradient map. So a gradient map, essentially, if you don't know what it is acting as a filter that affects the colors based on their the range of how white or how black it is. So anything that's here is going to affect the black layer, anything that's black on the layer, and anything on the far right is going to affect anything that's white. So anything in between that you add is going to affect all of those midpoints, right? So if we want all of the black to be red, we would do that, and then let me add a little bit of this black over here. Maybe let's do another color here that could be like a blue like this. And this is a very easy way to create some interesting textures, maybe for the back or something like that. And then we can mess around with it a little bit more to give it a tiny bit more of a better look, right? Maybe the white becomes something like that or something like this maybe. And I'm really liking some of the stuff that's happening here. What's bad about these images is that it doesn't have too much range between the black colors. Like, for example, something like this will have more of a range. So, you know, if we download this one and we apply a gradient map to it, you'll see right now applying the same gradient map to this image. Should be downloading. Let me see, did it download? I think it did. There it is. Okay, so if we added this image in there, okay, here it is. Let me add it in here. Boom, perfect. So let me go ahead and do the same thing. So if we added the same gradient map to this image, you would see how much, you know, more range we have. This image seems like to be like super low res, but anyways, you can see how much better it takes the gradient map, because it, you know, it has more of a range between the dark and the lighter zones. So something else to consider there when you're playing with this kind of effect. But for now, I feel like it's good. In fact, like I said, we can also go into liquefied and stretch that range a little bit more. I don't know how it's going to react with this image, because it seems like it has a lot of like different details there that are kind of like more like noisy. But let's try it out and see what happens. I'm trying to distort it a little bit more so we can have more texture on the back. And it should work. We'll see. If not, we'll just go back to what we had before. Pretty easy. Yeah, Velvet, I like doing the same thing. I like using gradient maps. I think it's fun. It's an easy way to get some stuff that otherwise you wouldn't have before. I'm gonna make a copy of this layer. I'm not sure if I love it or not, so that's why I'm gonna make a copy of it and put it down here. And I'm gonna use the original that we had created. I'm gonna commit another design scene and destroy it and not keep it as a smart object anymore. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to just put it in one layer and have less layers on my composition, which I know is pretty lazy of me. But to be honest with you guys, I'm probably not gonna, like, once I'm done with this design, making it today, I'm probably not gonna touch it again, because it's an exploration, right? So it's something that we make in a day to mess around with it, play around with it, and learn something new. Cool. So throwing in some of this background down here, I feel like these colors are coming in super cool. I'm gonna make a mask of it and erase it a tiny bit. Yeah, and it blends a little bit better like that. Some of these things are working, but they're not enough chaotic enough to like start adding like more value. So maybe what we do is that we have another one of these up here, and then we can really stretch it like this. And then I'm gonna go ahead and select color range. And then I want to pull some of this selection over here. Color range is another one of the things that I love using sometimes to extract things like this. So it gives you you can do it with the mask like I did over here. So I did a color range to do a selection, and then I used the mask to drop this stuff in here. I kind of like it, but at the same time, it feels like again, too harsh maybe for what we have going on. Regardless, I'm going to throw it in here. And yeah, it has too much of a vintage vibe compared to how polished like the model looks, but I like the texture of it, so I might leave it on the back as a texture. And yeah, part of the tension of creating something like this is like the internal tension that you might feel is like, oh, I'm making this, I don't know if it's working or not, and I don't know if this happened to you before when you're making something, but it's like, I'm making this right now and I don't really know if it's going to connect or not. And it's more about the decision of like, oh, I'm just gonna keep going. And then the more you keep going with it, believe it or not, the better it gets as you're creating this. So I would encourage you to do that when you're creating something like this. I encourage you to keep going a little bit more. And if you feel like it's not working, okay, let's just delete one of the things that you have in it and then add something else. So it's sort of like a game that you got to play with to get to a point where you're liking what you're making. And that game is normally, it's about time, which is, you got to be patient with it. Okay, I'm going to make a selection now of the mask over here. I'm going to try to do it like this so that it's a little bit more simple. Let's see if Photoshop helps me here a little bit to select it. It did a tiny bit, but it selected some of the things that I don't want to select. And that's cool because we can, like I did before, I'm going to just select the lasso tool and I'm going to get rid of this selection. And I want to do the same thing here. This is not perfect, but it's good enough for what I want. And down here as well. Perfect. Perfect. We might also need to just do this whole hair part as a different layer. Or like out of this selection. Oops. It was going so well. I have to do it again. So I'm going to make the selection. Perfect. Boom, boom. And there it is. Okay, so I'm deselecting that part and deselecting this whole thing and this whole thing. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, so we have somewhat of the mask selected over here. I'm gonna go ahead and actually add this part down here that I got rid of before. I don't know why I got rid of that part. Okay, and we have somewhat of the mask selected over here. The other thing that I'm going to get rid of is the eyes. I don't want that selected as part of this selection. Cool. And I'm gonna copy paste that, and what that gives us is this other layer that I can throw stuff into. And it should be, so whenever I just go like that, there you go. It has this kind of like cool effect. So I can add things to it, sort of like lighting like this. Or I can do, more dramatic things like this. One thing that I also like doing is using this dissolve tool, because that gives me more of a crunchy look. It's almost like a brush that feels like graffiti a tiny bit. So you can also go in and draw around it a little bit more. Perfect. I'm gonna draw a little bit more here. Sweet. Let's make it a little bit more dramatic. Cool. Right. Let's see what we can do with these little dots over here. I'm just gonna try to go without thinking too much about what I'm doing. Otherwise, we're gonna run out of time. Which is something, by the way, this happens a lot on this show. Like I start something, I go in, I'm doing it fast, and then I run out of time because I talk a lot and I focus too much on explaining one thing, and then we run out of time. I don't want that to happen today, so I'm just gonna move fast. So I might not explain what I'm doing with a few things, but hopefully it works out. Okay, sweet. I'm liking this. I feel like it's working a little bit. I feel like I need a realistic image of like clouds and the sky that I can throw in. So I'm gonna go again to Adobe Stock just to get one of those images. We could honestly also generate them, but I don't know, maybe I see something here that I like and I can pull that in from something that I like versus generating it, just because I don't know exactly what I want. So let me see. I'm gonna get this one, for instance, because I want to pull some of the background and stuff. I want to pull like a few selection things from it that I feel like could work really well. And then I want to pull some clouds, some realistic clouds to contrast the unrealistic clouds that we have. I feel like that could be a nice contrast too. And any other ideas would be welcome. I accidentally click on premium images. These are cost like $300 ish. So definitely don't want to do that. Let me scroll down a little bit, see if we have any. Let me just do clouds, because that might pull up a tiny bit better of a reference here for us. Man, I'm a sucker for these dramatic, like super like sharp clouds that have a lot of contrast. For some reason, I really like those. So one thing that we've talked about a little bit before I start adding these clouds is whenever we're creating an image like this, is that we want to generate some sort of like contrast that is really evident between our subject and our background. And I just noticed how close my subject was to the top, so I'm like reframing this, which is a really bad moment to do this, because I've already done so much of the design. So maybe it's a bad idea to do this right now. I'm not gonna do it. What's up, Jenny? Good to see you. Great to have you in the chat. We're just working on an image here. Okay, so let's start adding those clouds and that sky to the background. Maybe something that I want to do is that I want to go off of this right here and use that as a placement for my image. So I'm gonna put it right there. Maybe a little bit smaller, because I want it to cleanly look like it's back there. The reason why is that I also wanted to go on top of my subject over here inside of the red. Where is that at? Over here. Sweet. Okay, perfect. I want to go in there, and I wanted to separate my model using that, if that makes sense. So I want it to be a visual distinction inside of that as well. That's outside, perfect. And then I'm gonna throw in these clouds over here. I like these. These are so easy to also just click remove background, and it should do a really clean cut. I'm gonna drink some water real quick. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if I want to put this on this, like on this level. And this is where I'm realizing that I might have added too many things to this design. Maybe not, but it looks like I have added a lot of things to this design that maybe I should remove. Let's see. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna leave that right there where it is, and then I'm going to add this new image that we have over here, and then I'm gonna add that all the way to the back. I'm gonna also add it to the front, and I want to try to. What I want to try to do is that I want to try to get a more realistic, not realistic, but color range selection from this that has a little bit more of a dramatic, yeah, something like this. You can kind of see. It might be super small for you guys, but you can see a little bit of the. I'm gonna try to make it a little bit bigger. but you can see my selection over here, my color selection. I'm trying to do it to where I have more of a, yeah, this kind of like look, right? So this kind of texture that I can then throw on top of like either the model's mask or the body or both, and it will be a tiny bit better, right? So I think that's what I'm looking for. I feel like this adds that kind of crunchy, more realistic look to something that otherwise it looks and feels pretty flat. But you know, the thing now is like, how do we apply it? So we got to start thinking about that a little bit more. Yeah, and as we add more things, sometimes it feels like, oh, we need to get rid of that other thing that we added before, right? So it's part of like creating something as chaotic as this is. Yeah, but I like that. Let me go ahead and add a color background here. Maybe I'll add an orange-ish color like this. I'm adding this all the way to the back. Perfect. Maybe a little brighter. Yeah, I totally changed that color in the middle of it. Okay, these clouds are a little bit too big. And they might be better in the mask now that I'm thinking about it. So I'm gonna throw them inside of the mask. See what that looks like. Not totally convinced by it, but I feel like it's a good start to something cool. I feel like it's a cool idea. It needs more execution, right? It would need a little bit more of a, we'll do a sun in there. Making a selection to add these colors to the sun. Yeah, and you see now the background feels really busy because we're throwing in so many things at the front now that the back starts feeling crazy. Also, because we're not capturing some of these kind of like mask little hairs there, it feels off. So what we have to do there is to make those white. That's pretty easy because we have that selection on the bottom. So we just go in and kind of like do this. It'll be a little harder on this area over here where the hair is, but all of this is pretty simple to just, you know, copy that color that's around it and just paint it that color. Pretty simple. And I know this is not perfect at all. Like it's very, very messy. Like I said, I feel like that's part of the beauty of it too, right? It just feels messy, but it feels in a way unique and cool. Yeah, thank you, Lucas. Yeah, the balance is like I said, it's like something that, you know, you throw in some things at the beginning and you delete them and then you're like, okay, that's not working. You get rid of it and you add a little bit more. I'm liking the stripes. I'm liking, maybe we bring the blue stripe back. I don't know where I put it. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And then maybe in this last 10 minutes or so, what I do is that I grab some of the elements that I had before and I'm a little bit more careful with them and placing them and adding them to the right place. So yeah, so maybe what we do is that, well, let's go ahead and do that. Let me add this to the back as well. So it'll be a lighter blue and it's going to be under the model. And just like that, we're like almost out of time already, which is, you know, every time you're doing something fun, it goes by so quickly. I was talking about this on my Instagram today, but like when I'm creating something like this, to me it's very therapeutic, like in the sense of like I'm just creating without. I'm obviously talking about a lot on this show because I want to tell you guys what's happening as I'm doing it. But at the same time, I just it's just a way to kind of express what I'm doing and be happy creating and doing something without a purpose in a way. I feel like that feels all of us as creators. It gives us like a feel, and it helps us stay a little bit more connected with the way that we design and the way that we do things. And then it gives us a lot of freedom because when clients come our way, we generally have a good idea of what we want to make because we've spent so many hours like creating things like this that we enjoy creating. So it's a good way to exercise your creativity in a safe environment in a way that nobody's gonna like shut down your idea or tell you that's the wrong texture to use or whatever. It's just more of a matter of like, how do I do this idea that's in my brain and do it in a way that makes me happy and also, helps me understand something new. Like today, with all the chaos that I added, I wish I wouldn't have added too many things so fast. At the same time, I'm about to sneeze. I'm sorry. I didn't end up. There it is. It's gone. Every time I step away from the mic, it comes back. Anyways, I wish I didn't add so many things at the beginning. I feel like that was a mistake. But then as I kept progressing, I kept making little changes and learning a little bit more about what I'm doing, right? So that's always cool. It's always cool to explore some of those things and do them better. I'm going to go ahead and make these clouds on the front white because I don't know. I don't know if I like them white or not. One cool thing about making a color range selection with a mask is that you can always go in and edit that mask to do something else, right? So you can always go in, select color range again. And if you're messing with the image, it's going to make it automatically in the selection, right? So if I do this and select the clouds a little bit more, it's going to change it to that. Did I do it right? I don't know if I did it right. Let me see. I'm giving you guys a super confident. Oh, there it is. Okay. I didn't have the mask selected, but if you're selecting the same layer, as you make the changes, you can see the things that you're selecting. And you, in a way, can even keep adding. If you press Shift and you want to add more colors to that to make it more dramatic, you can do the same thing. I'm going to leave it like this. I'm actually going to move it to the bottom, maybe the top. I don't know. Hesitating on what I should do with the front. I feel like these little dots are okay. They're a little random. I wish I had a little bit more time to start working on details on this. I feel like this is what's missing is that the whole little image. I feel like it's a good starting to be a good composition. It's just missing a lot of work on the details end. But yeah, it is a good starting composition. It's missing something maybe on this line that could bring like an element of like cool to the whole thing. Maybe the circles. Let me drop some of them to the back. We'll bring back some of these colors in. Maybe some of these are in the back and some are in the front. The spacing of them is off, but I also want one to land on the top of this. So I feel like that's okay. It does feel balanced. It feels balanced, but at the same time, it's obviously not in the same place. I like it. Mona said, "I love that you don't use AI." Well, I used AI for the base image though. I mean, we've talked about AI in the show as well, but I feel like AI is an interesting thing, right? It's like depends on how you use it. I feel like it's good to use it or not. There's a lot of uses for it that they're really good for speeding work up and doing stuff like that. Obviously, you know, if you're copying other people's work straight up, and it's something totally different, right? But yeah, it depends on how you use it. But I'm gonna make this final touch over here. I want to create a shadow, so I just copied the main layer. I'm gonna color overlay, make it black, make it maybe add a Gaussian blur to it. Not too much of a Gaussian blur, maybe that much. And then maybe make it a multiply, something like this. Sometimes I like to, when I'm doing shadows, do a little bit of like erasing on the edge of it. Say it gives it more of a realistic look, right? Everything that's closer to the model will be a little bit darker. Maybe that's something that's away. It's a little bit lighter. I like it there, and I like it maybe on the blue as well. Let me see. Yeah, I don't want to bring it down to this. Yeah, I mean, there's some details here that need more attention, right? They need a little bit more of a thinking through it. But you know, I like this. I feel like it's cool. Lucas, you want me to share the photo? Okay, I will do that. I'll share the photo on Discord, guys, so you guys can have it too, and then you can make your own version of this. You can take longer than I think I had about 50 minutes to 45 to 50 minutes or so to do this. So you can take a little longer than that. Don't feel like you have to do it in 1 hour or 45 minutes or whatever to create your own version of this. I would love to see it on Discord. Again, next week we'll be here at the same time. I feel like it could be a really cool thing if you guys want to give this a go and do a challenge where you guys are editing the same photo that I'm editing and doing your own thing to it with your ideas. I know some of you guys have a lot of ideas. Right now, I'm trying to, we have a couple more minutes. I'm trying to color coordinate this a little bit better to where like I'm reusing some of the same colors. Like for instance, I had a really strong red here and here, so I switched those to more of a muted palette. So I feel like that's working a little bit better. So yeah, I'll share that on the Discord. Thank you for sharing the Discord on the chat. If you guys don't know where to find that, it's right now. It's on the chat, so you can look at it. Yeah, I would love to see what you guys come up with. You guys are brilliant. I know there's a lot of talented people on this group, and I would love to see what you come up with. I can't wait to see it, and yeah, make something cool with it, something interesting. No pressure. It's more for fun. Do something that looks nice and that you want to make and that you want to learn how to make, and share it on Discord. I'm going to share this image that we created today. I feel like it came out pretty good. Let me close this properties panel. I feel like it came out pretty good. Obviously, it could have been a little bit better. I would have added a little bit more of maybe a magazine texture to it, leaning to this kind of like on regular details that we have. So maybe I'll do that off the screen, and then we can see it on Discord. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Idara. Thank you, everybody. Jenny, Velvet. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for all the new people for being here. I'll see you next week. Stick around, all right? See you on Discord. Bye.